words sync up with our.
I think we don't have that. We don't have that problem here. We may have a slight problem, but it's not a big problem. All right. All right. We should be live. Wait for YouTube to get its life together.
Are we live? We're live. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we are live from Daytona. And probably one of the most aggravating yet enjoyable shows, because we are in Daytona in the sun, relaxing, about to go to a race. More annoying because we had an awesome episode planned for you guys, and we are big believers of every off-season episode having a purpose, not just mailing it in and being like, all right, let's just talk about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley again and repeat the same old stuff over and over again. We hate doing that. We pride ourselves on not doing it. But this is one of those shows because we had a planned show. We were going to interview some people, maybe even a NASCAR driver that was Giants related, like a NASCAR driver who was Daniel Jones' friend, some NASCAR writers and radio people who are Giants fans that we know and love. But JetBlue, the scumbags that they are, I mean, you tell the story.
Yeah. So basically the moral of the story is JetBlue left our recording equipment that we were going to use yesterday. They left it in Newark, and then by the time that it got to Orlando, they didn't deliver it right away. And then by the time it was delivered, it was like 6, 7 p.m., and it was too late for us to put together a full episode because the races were happening. The Thursday night races were happening at Daytona. I was initially very skeptical of the episode that we were going to put together, this Friday show that we had planned at Daytona, but you did a really good job, and at the end of it, I was really pumped. We had 3 different guests. We had we'll just say it. I mean, why not? What's the harm in saying it? It's not going to happen. So we had William Byron, the driver of the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports car, bunch of different sponsors this week, and it's Raptor. And he's a good driver. He won a lot of races last year. He's a young up-and-coming driver. He was the first driver in the 24 after Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, he took over for Jeff Gordon, who, like, people my age, it's 2 drivers come to mind when you think of NASCAR: Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon.
So William Byron knows Daniel Jones somehow. You tell that.
Yeah, he's like basically family friends somehow. They're both from North Carolina, so somehow they're family friends. And William Byron, he's actually a Panthers fan, but he's a Daniel Jones fan. So we're going to talk to him about Daniel Jones and talk about the Panthers for a little bit, just 10, 15 minutes, and then talk about racing and put our listeners behind him. Guess that's not going to happen. We're going to talk to Steve Toronto, who is a Giants fan. He's very active. He's a writer for CBS Sports and covers NASCAR. Well, couldn't do that. And we were going to talk with Dominic, who works for Sirius XM Radio NASCAR. And, I mean, we got to talk to all those guys besides Byron.
Yeah. But not on the podcast.
Yeah, not on the podcast.
Because JetBlue absolutely.
Well, tell them what happened. You didn't tell them
us.
Did you tell them what happened with JetBlue?
I mean, they just. I was at the airport and I said, "Okay, are you going to deliver this? I need this for work." And if I knew that they weren't going to deliver it, I would have just bit the bullet and I would have stayed like the 3 or 4 hours that this bag took to get there. Because we had a shit ton of time. I flew in early in the morning. So I get there and I have a tracker in the bag, and the tracker says that it's still in Newark. They say, "Okay, we'll deliver it to you." I'm like, I'm not on vacation. I need this for work. Can you get it to me? Yeah, we'll get it to you today. And then eventually a couple hours pass. The plane lands. I have the tracker on. It's not moving. I call them back. And mind you, Orlando Airport is about an hour and 15 minutes away from Daytona. So Bobby came and picked me up. And I called JetBlue saying, "Hey, what's the deal? Do you have an expected time that this bag is going to get here?" And they're like, "No, we don't have an expected time. We can't even guarantee that the bag's even going to get to you today." And then I'm like, "Well, I can't do that. Like, I'm here for work." And then they asked me, the question that set me off is, "Well, do you want to come back?" I said, "No, I don't know. I hope I didn't say fucking. I mean, I kind of hope I did." I said, "No, I don't want to fucking come back for the bag. You told me you'd deliver it." So JetBlue really did screw us, and I'm really glad that we went on our social media tirade yesterday.
Everyone go tweet something very mean for JetBlue. I wanted a thumbnail today, and Justin said I couldn't do it about JetBlue. But just know I wanted a thumbnail about JetBlue.
No, YouTube would not have liked that. We were going to get flagged.
I want us to never end our hatred for JetBlue.
Oh, never. I'm never doing it ever again.
I don't want this to be a one-day thing. Like I want our listeners to put on tweet notifications for JetBlue, and every time they tweet, you respond. Every single time. Yep. We are going to war with JetBlue because they ruined a podcast. They ruined an awesome they screwed up our work. Imagine if we like actually had to like do stuff like we had to do this podcast.
Imagine if it was like a game or like a preview pod or something, and you know we were flown out somewhere or whatever, or I came to meet up with you to go to a Tampa game and we couldn't do a preview. That would be terrible. We would have found a way to do it, but that was bad. So we apologize for that, but we're here doing a Giants Q&A, I guess.
Yeah, and we were going to do something with Jack and Zoe, who worked for John Boy Media, but
true.
they left to go do their own.
They're on the beach. So also, fuck JetBlue again, because I would have loved to already have the podcast out at 8 a.m. today and then go on the fucking beach with them. They're on the beach right now.
Yeah, we're going to have to like get done with this and go straight to the race tonight. But we're here. Do we have the NASCAR ad? The reason we're here in Florida is because of NASCAR. NASCAR sent us out here to cover this weekend's events. And honestly, it's awesome.
It's sick, man.
Like I got a little bit of the bougie life last night. We were in a luxury box, and I'm like, man, this like I don't know if I can go back to just sitting in the stands with the poor people like myself.
Don't say that. No, but it's really been awesome. And part of I think our audience, even if it's something that is a little unorthodox, I think our audience appreciates people and things that appreciate us. And it's really cool that NASCAR has not only just sent us here and they're like, all right, go do whatever. You know, we have deliverables that are very easy deliverables, by the way, which is, credit to them. Thank you to them. I think we're going above and beyond it. You know, we have some videos that we're going to be filming tomorrow and Sunday. I don't want to say it yet because I want to make sure that it comes out great. But, I mean, the suite, every race this weekend, like they're putting us in a suite, and it is an awesome, awesome suite. So I would like our audience to appreciate NASCAR because they appreciate us, and it's really, really sick, and it's really, really cool. And the way that you can appreciate NASCAR is by watching the Daytona 500 on Sunday, February 19th, this Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox. We got a glimpse of the dual races last night. Good action. They did a good job of kind of keeping calm, keeping cool, keeping collected for the majority of the race. But when they actually started to get racing towards the end, because the duels are just the qualifying races, they're not actually like the real race. The real race is on Sunday. So last night was just to decide where you're starting in the field. When they got racing at the end, it was some fun stuff, and there was even a limited pack. The more cars that are in that pack, the more cars that are in the draft, the better they're going to move, the faster that they're going to go, the more aggressive you can get. So I think there's going to be some wrecks if you like wrecks, and I think there's going to be some good racing this Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Check out the Daytona 500. It's NASCAR Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl just happened last week. So continue with some big games and big races.
It's definitely the best race to watch.
Yeah.
Like if you pick one race to watch this year, it should be the Daytona 500.
I agree. So. Short tracks, all that kind of stuff too. So
I mean, if you were just like, hey, I want to pick one race, watch the Daytona 500. If it gets you hooked in, cool. That's awesome.
Okay.
If there's one race you want to watch, it's the Daytona 500. Probably you should watch more, but if there's one you want to just test out, this is the one to test out. So.
Thank you to NASCAR.
All right, so hit us with some Giants questions because we got. What are we going to go for? About 45 minutes?
Yeah,
or so?
We'll go until we feel like we can't go. We have a SeatGeek read to do this, so we'll fit that in the middle as well. We're gonna have a couch Daniel Jones conversation. Can we start off with that?
Let's do it.
I feel like that's how we're gonna get the 100 and so people that are watching right now. That's how we're gonna get them to stay, and that's how we're gonna get more people to click on. I'm going to read you a tweet that I had about Daniel Jones this morning. I just had a really good – I had like a good flow of thought.
I almost did a how does everybody tweet about Daniel Jones every single day
yeah,
tweet
I don't,
today, but I don't like doing that.
I don't want to do that because I get it. It's a massive question mark for the franchise. But I also agree. I don't – people like not just tweet about Daniel Jones every day. They debate about Daniel Jones every day. Daniel Jones tweet. It's about the first one in a while. I'm in the camp of not getting too worked up about how much he's earning per year, his average annual value. It will be a big, uncomfortable number. That's a given. It's going to be a number that's like, whoa, that's a lot, because that's just what the market is. What I do care about is the years/guaranteed years. End of the day, Joe Shane needs to draft well. Use free agency to make supplemental moves, and we ride. That's where my couch conversation, Daniel Jones talk, is there. This is not our final Daniel Jones talk.
Yeah, the average annual value, like I'm not really interested in that at all, unless it goes to like 45 mil or something like that. like I think we all expect it to be somewhere between the 35 and 40 mil, right? Yeah. And if it's more than that, then I would be willing to be like, hey, go play for the Jets then, man. I'm sorry. But I think we all expect it to go there, which is what that's average quarterback salary in the NFL right now. And I'd like we should figure out what the percentage, because we have to do this full conversation next week. We are going to do a full conversation on Giants' upcoming free agents that are New York players who play for the New York Giants who are upcoming free agents episode next week, where we're going to hash it out. And we're going to bust some narratives on that podcast too.
Yeah, so there's like a couple different approaches. And again, this is like it's literally a couch Daniel Jones conversation.
So I agree with you. Where I want to see, one, how many years, and then how much guaranteed money.
Guaranteed years.
And I think that will tell the story on him. Is it 2 years guaranteed and then a third year where it's not? Or is it spread out through 5 years, like where they're not like, hey, where they're like, hey, we truly believe this guy is the guy,
and we
want to make this contract work out for us the best.
Yeah, and if you backload maybe like the 5-year deal, which hey, I'm not really about doing the Nate Solder type of things anymore. I kind of want to stay away from it, but there is a way to do it where you have to be conscious of what's happening with Andrew Thomas, what's happening with Xavier McKinney. There's other things that are in play right now outside of just Daniel Jones' contract.
And luckily, the Giants are in a healthy enough cap situation where they don't need to backload this contract. Like,
I hope they don't.
The nature of contracts is they are somewhat backloaded because as you go by years on years, you have less contracts on your books. It's just simple math of players contracts expire. So 3 years from now, like the entire team will be upcoming free agents besides like 7 players. So the longer it is, so that I think that will tell the story. If they make this a 5-year deal, then they truly, truly believe in this guy. And like a 5-year deal helps them better if they truly believe in them. A 3-year deal means like we like him, but we're not totally sold, you know. And the questions of, like Daniel Jones was second to last for starting quarterbacks in deep throw percentage this year, which – there was some throws left on the field, but for 98% of the time, Daniel Jones was making the right reads and making the right decision. So that will tell the story of, do they think like, man, this dude left some hole shots on the field, about a 1.5 per game or so? Or are they like, hey, this is what we asked him to do and execute, and it's because of the wide receivers, and it's not because we thought he had some limitations on his own.
Yeah, I'm with you where I'm – because he's unproven, and I really do like. I love Daniel Jones's year. I've complimented the fact that they just didn't turn over the ball. Like that is an awesome feat that this Giants offense did. But I still feel like Daniel Jones overall in his overall body of work, he's still an unproven quarterback. So I'm right now on the like 3-year deal. Even if you have to bump up the average annual value a little bit, 3-year deal, kind of see if you can get an out eventually. And Daniel Jones maybe should bet on himself because the salary cap is only going to go up, right?
Yeah.
The salary cap is only going to shoot up. If I'm Daniel Jones, I'm betting on myself. I'm betting on my work ethic. I'm betting on Brian Daboll continuing to improve me, and I'm betting on Joe Shane upgrading the roster around me. So maybe a couple years down the line, I can get paid more instead of it spread through 5 years. Why not?
Yeah.
That's what I'm rooting for, at least.
Yeah, players for the most part want to take the more secure option.
Guaranteed.
But again, if Daniel Jones is I was frustrated that we didn't get to have Steven Toronto on the show because he had a phrase last summer, and it was respect Daniel Jones. He wasn't saying Daniel Jones, like he wasn't being just a dumb fan. He was just saying that love their quarterback and getting these arguments of I support my guy.
Yeah.
He was just like, respect Daniel Jones. And I think that was the right take to have last summer, even though it meant like, hey, we got to decline his 5th-year option, new regime. He hasn't shown it enough. But it's like he deserves some respect for the way he had played, even under horrible, horrible circumstances, where a lot of quarterbacks would have totally folded, where Daniel Jones kind of held things up somewhat afloat, where they weren't a total disaster.
Right.
And I think this year proved that with, Richie, all of his wide receivers were top of their catch rate and average depth of target. So he had a solid year. This is sports radio. I am confident that Daniel Jones is a pretty good quarterback. And now, what do we see more? Is he a really good quarterback? I won't say never, but I don't see a world where he is the elite quarterbacks, the Mahomes, Josh Allen, Burrow type of guys. But I also am a big believer of don't throw away very good in the chase of great, because great is very, very hard to get, and a lot of it is about being lucky.
Yeah, there are franchises that have been searching for great for 4 or 5 decades. I don't think the Giants should just easily. It's not an easy conversation, this Daniel Jones conversation, but because of the success that this team had, because of where they're picking in the draft, and you don't want to give up assets to move up too far, or the quarterback's good, Daniel Jones, even at an overpay, is the best option for next year and maybe some years to come. But we'll see about that. I also want to talk about, before maybe we even get to some questions.
We could talk about my mock draft a little bit too.
I was literally going to ask you about your mock draft, because there actually was I saw some tight end questions floating around, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, well was that tight end Mayer from Notre Dame, who everybody loves, was he on the board at 25 for your mock draft? So you put out your post-Senior Bowl pre-free agency mock draft on Thursday. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But what was the exercise like for you? Grueling.
So that was like, I texted you and Julian, and I was like, this mock draft is kicking my ass.
It's kicking your ass, yeah.
One, because most of our research is Senior Bowl guys at this point, because we had to get ready for the Senior Bowl. And then it's like, all right, let's watch some guys that we didn't know going in there that caught our eyes coming out. So the first round, I haven't really watched the top wide receivers a ton. I've watched them lightly, but I haven't really watched Addison. Zay Flowers, I watched the game on TV this year. I was very impressed, the first game of the year versus Rutgers. So the wide receivers I didn't do a ton of, but the wide receivers that are there kind of fit the slot role. Like, supposedly Addison's a slot. Jackson Smith, and he wasn't there. He's a slot guy. Addison and Jackson weren't there. But, like these slot guys, Zay Flowers actually might be the most outside wide receiver out of those guys, even though he's 5'8". And the Giants invested a second-round pick in Wan'Dale Robinson. So it makes, we kind of, if we're going first-round wide receiver, we kind of need that X wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right?
I also just think you've talked about it before, too. Good. These teams that are left in the the playoffs, the Final Four, I feel like the step for the Giants to become a good to great team is to get the alpha number one outside wide receiver.
Yeah, an alpha number one wide receiver is the thing that can help them close the gap the most. There's nothing more on this, unless you were to get like a top 5 NFL quarterback. But realistically, an alpha X wide receiver is what can help them close the gap the most from 2022 to 2023. Yeah. But I put out a tweet. That's not an easy answer.
In this year's class, as of right now,
at pick 25, that's not going to be an easy answer. So I went defense. I went Joey Porter Jr., who I really liked. I liked him a lot in the summer when we did our way too early mock. Wink Martindale has gotten the most out of long press corners that aren't like the perfectly sound guys, but he gets the most out of those guys, and Joey Porter Jr. was that. Drew Sanders was the other guy who should have a draft film breakdown out on him, I guess, next week. I did one. Anyways, it should be out next week.
It should be out next week.
Drew Sanders is fun, but there is worries of, does this translate to the NFL game? But the thing that I like about Drew Sanders within his issues is that he's only been playing that position for 1 year, and he plays fast and downhill. But a lot of times the guys who at linebacker who are the most fun, it's not about being fun at the NFL level. It's about being good, stopping the run down in, down out. But Drew Sanders does a lot of great stuff. So it was between him and Joey Porter Jr. I went Joey Porter Jr. with the first pick. And I think linebacker is a position.
Drew Sanders, that light linebacker from Arkansas, he's a first-round, early second-round pick?
He's a first-round. Someone's going to pick him in the first round because his film is good enough for someone to pick him in the first round. His talent is good enough for someone to pick him in the first round.
He is light.
Yeah, and he's got to add weight. So I ended up going with Joey Porter Jr. I felt better with that. And I think linebacker is a position where you can get really good players later on. Corner, every position you can, besides quarterback and tackle for the most part.
Yeah, even though I'm very afraid. I'm not anti-drafting corner. I'm just afraid of drafting corner with like a high-value asset pick just because of how unpredictable.
Even look at linebackers. First-round linebackers have a lot of issues.
Well, I just positional value, I would rather draft. If we're between a corner and an interior linebacker, I'd rather draft the corner early on than, especially in the first round, than the interior linebacker.
Yeah, and I went Jack Campbell, who is someone who I trust in the second round, the Iowa linebacker.
Yeah.
who's not the most athletic guy in the world, but I'm like, this guy's going to be a good linebacker. So I took him in the second round. In the third round, I went Avila and Xavier Hutchinson, the wide receiver out of Iowa State. Hutchinson, I don't know if he's ever going to be a great wide receiver, but I think he's going to be a solid one. So I took him with the comp pick from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel like Hutchinson, remember when we watched Amon-Ra St. Brown from USC? I was proud of myself that I really liked him. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't do anything like, wow, at USC, but I just feel like he was a good route runner and he was a good football player. And I feel like Xavier Hutchinson now, Amon-Ra is absolutely taken off. But I feel like Xavier Hutchinson is just going to come in the NFL and he's going to be a good football player. He's not going to wow you with anything, but he's going to be a good football player.
Yeah, I think so too. They're two different players where Amon-Ra is a slot, short route king, where Xavier is going to work the quick game, and that might be some of the best part of his game, but he's also 6'3". Then with Tyler Steen out of Alabama, move him to guard. Took a couple wide receivers in Jaden Reed and Charlie Jones. Charlie Jones, I'm really intrigued by. Like I think the Purdue wide receiver. I think he's going to be a solid NFL player.
He's a gamer.
And then what else? And then Payne Durham, the blocking tight down at Purdue. Truly fell in love with that guy at the Senior Bowl. And he was someone who was like, this Senior Bowl is going to this is going to tell a lot of the story for me. And then you go watch the film, and it's like, okay, this guy can. I mean, we sped watched me and Grump sped watched the tight ends before the Senior Bowl and kind of swapped notes. And with Payne Durham, it's like this dude can freaking block.
Yeah.
And then when you watch his receiving stuff, it's like not the fastest guy in the world, but he knows how to control his body. So he is slow.
And his yak is pretty incredible too. Like he fucking carries guys on his back. And it's pretty fun. So if you want a good game to watch, Bobby, we literally just took 2 Purdue players and then 1 Penn State player. Charlie Jones had an incredible game against Penn State, and there are some reps where he goes up against Joey Porter. There was really, you said there weren't a lot of teams that tested Joey Porter, but Purdue and Charlie Jones did, and Charlie Jones kind of got the best out of Joey Porter at times. So go check out that game. You get to see that matchup, and Joey Porter lines up on some other wide receivers too. And then Payne Durham has some nice yak plays in that game against Penn State as well. I found myself clipping up both of those guys in the same game. So watch that game.
Why don't you read the SeatGeek act? Did Jack and Zoe come back?
I saw Kevin, so they may have come back. So we're gonna read a SeatGeek ad, and then we'll take some questions.
Who's here?
And then we'll. I think is your brother here?
He should be. Did he walk in?
I did see your brother.
Okay, I didn't know if he came yet.
So I also saw Kevin.
Is he here?
I saw a bunch of people. Your brother is here. Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. You can buy tickets at the Daytona 500. We have a lot of listeners that are in Florida. Or you know what? Screw it. Fly down to Florida. Do not use a certain airline. And buy your tickets on SeatGeek because the Daytona 500 is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and SeatGeek will provide you with that once-in-a-lifetime experience. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. That is a lot of downloads, and it's always great to be number one.
Number one, like Talking Giants.
That's right. There are more than 70,000. I would say 77,000, 77-0 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. They always want to make sure that you are getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Check out the link in the description to download the app. All right, let's get some questions here.
How are you liking Florida so far?
A lot of sun. Look at that. Whoa, holy shit. That looks like something on camera.
Yeah, that's bad.
I mean, it looks worse on camera than it does in person. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's still pretty bad.
It's bad. I mean that's a good camera, and it sticks out the great features in me. Not there are no bad features in me, but I'm enjoying Florida. It was 60 degrees in Jersey, so before I left, which is like perfect weather. Where now it's like hot, but I'm not.
Was it gray outside?
It was not. No, it was 60 degrees like the day before I left, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. Why am I leaving now? But no, I love Florida simply because in this scenario, I'm going to the Daytona 500. And what I did this morning is I checked out of the hotel that I'm in. We're in an Airbnb now. That's where we're coming to you from. I checked out of the hotel and I Ubered, the mile down the road to the track, and I was just in heaven. I just walked in the Cup garage. I walked in the Xfinity garage. I walked pit road. I mean, I was just in heaven, just watching the sport that I grew up and all the behind the scenes stuff. And I saw some drivers. I took a picture with the lady driver that I knew. She looked very happy to see me. I took a lot of pride in that. So she could have just been nice. Let's answer some questions.
Did you see that, Brian? What's the best tradition of the New York Giants? That's a question I have.
What's the best tradition of the New York Giants?
This segues into my next segment.
They don't really need like traditions because they've like won.
But
what's
the best tradition they have? If you thought they had a tradition,
if I thought that they had a tradition besides just going to home games,
nepotism.
Oh wow!
Brian Dable and the New York Giants have hired Christian Dable.
I'm trying to think of positive things.
Brian Dable's son, Christian Dable, who's been like an assistant coach, like a student coach, a GA for Penn State the last few years. So Christian Dable has joined the New York Giants staff as an offensive assistant, which is basically like cutting up film, kind of like you're given an assignment on like go chart all the blitzes for the defense for this week type of stuff. Like you're not game planning stuff.
Could he send that to you too?
I would love it. So Christian Dable, if you are
well, you just made fun of nepotism, so maybe he won't now.
Christian, it's a joke. You know it's a joke. It's a joke. I'm trying to get my brother to read his text messages.
Read the text message. He didn't read the text message. All right, so nepotism. I don't care because Brian Dable's a good coach. If Brian Dable's
also,
a bad
he's an
coach,
offensive assistant, so he's gonna have to prove his way one way or the other.
Don't care.
So you know who is an assistant coach for the Bills talking about as nepotism? It's actually not nepotism.
Ken Dorsey.
No. Yes. Think of coach's sons.
Coach's sons.
Related to the New York Giants.
No.
Kyle Shermer.
Oh wow.
Vanderbilt quarterback.
Wow. He's on the staff?
Yeah, he works for the Bills.
Where's Pat Shermer?
What's
he doing?
He's jobless. He lives in Jersey, though.
He's jobless. That's tough. Lives in Jersey, wants to stay.
I think he bought a house here because he was the head coach of the New York Giants.
That's a good point. But he did have he was the OC in Denver, too.
All right, let's answer two questions.
Let's answer two questions. All right, give us some questions. I do not want to talk about Saquon Barkley. I just don't want to talk about
We'll save that for
Barkley.
the pending free agents because we're going to be calculated with that.
I feel like this question came up multiple times. Who's the Giants' assistant head coach?
They don't have one officially.
Wow.
They don't officially have one.
We got a question about how do we feel about skinny wide receivers versus someone that may be a little bit more durable, like Addison versus Rice? I feel like both of them are kind of small.
Rice I feel like is a little built.
Oh no, yeah. Well, we said that he looks smaller in Mobile versus what he's listed. That's what we said. Let's see. Fix the O-line. I like Jonathan Mingo as a mid-round X. I agree.
That's a good pick. That could be Jonathan Mingo. I got to do a full evaluation on him, but from doing a speed watch and then watching him at the Senior Bowl, that could be my pick a guy who's going to go in the third or fourth round who could be a wide receiver one. Mingo might end up being that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Jonathan
We got
Mingo.
a super chat. We should answer that.
In the era of every wide receiver that people like is like 5'8", Jonathan Mingo brings the size. Juicy Whiteman, if there's a center like
his
Linderbaum,
last name is Skinner.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
That's Juicy John Skinner.
Thank you, Juicy John Skinner. If there's a center like Linderbaum at 25, do you pull the trigger or go somewhere else like linebacker or wide receiver? Interior offensive line is a spot where I really hope that we maybe can grab one or two of them in the top 100.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a guy like that there. So
tough.
All right, let's answer one more question and then get out of here.
How about tight end room? We were getting questions about the tight end room at the top. And does Daniel Bellinger not stop you? Does Daniel Bellinger make you think twice of putting some sort of valuable asset in the tight end room? How about that? Because Mayer at 25, that's a conversation that's happening.
My view on tight ends as a whole stops me from doing that.
Yeah, fair.
Where it's just a position where it's like I value a guy who's not great at that position, like a guy who can just do his job fairly well.
Yeah.
Like it's a position where I think that it's more valuable to be like slightly above average at tight end than it is to be slightly above average at any other position in the field, possibly.
That's
I'm just
fair.
saying that off rip without going position by position, but I think that's a good take.
I think it's a good take too. It's also how you use your tight ends.
But
just,
Daniel Bellinger doesn't stop me from investing in the tight end room.
Right. They just like didn't use. Like Bellinger's like didn't like run routes this year, which is kind of bizarre. And I don't know if that's just the offense, and we'll see. So, all right.
We went for a little over 30 minutes. It could be a short pod. I mean, blame JetBlue. Make sure to tag us when you tweet at JetBlue really nasty things. So.
Yeah. We try. You know, Bobby said it at the top, but we try and take pride in, you know, even if it's a random show in the month of May or June, we really try and take pride in, you know, we're either having a good time or putting a lot of research into something that maybe
putting a lot of effort into everything.
Putting a lot of effort into everything, and you know this unfortunately kind of stopped us. But you know we talked a little Daniel Jones, talked a little NASCAR, talked a little draft. Bobby went through his mock draft. Go watch that video. How about that? Go watch that mock draft video, and that'll be about 21 more minutes of Talking Giants.
This is kind of what like a normal Giants podcast is in the offseason, where it's like you talk about Daniel Jones, talk about a few guys in the draft, answer a couple questions.
Are we the average Giants podcast now?
But the difference is that we threaten to like kill K word, M word.
You already said it.
JetBlue people.
All right, people. We will see you on Tuesday. What are we talking about Tuesday?
Well, you're going to be traveling, so we'll figure it out then.
I'm home. Monday. I will be home Monday morning.
Okay, then maybe we'll do the pending free agent
wow.
episode.
Oh, that's a big prep getting home from the airport.
Possibly an interview. You know, maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll get an interview with one of the reporters.
But next week, no matter when it is, either it's going to be Tuesday or Friday, we're biting the bullet. We're talking about Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. We're putting our nuts on the table saying this
Julian
Love. We're putting our nuts on the table saying this is what we would do.
Giants signed Hodgins, Jack Anderson.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Who else is the exclusive rights free agent? There was one other. First one that Pickett wins.
Zion Gilbert.
O-line. No, not Zion. O-line.
Lawrence Cager.
You won.
I won. What do I win?
All right, that's an episode. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Tuesday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.